Okay, we're on.
Good.
Okay, everybody, we're starting, please. Thank you.
Hello. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the people who are here in the audience. I see Barbara, and hi, how you doing? And Sid and other members of the community, and today, we're gonna be discussing
Housing.
housing, an important component, and I'm looking at the agenda. All of this is gonna be online, and tomorrow will be transportation, which is a critical component of any type of development. And I think, Mark Hopner, we're gonna have a nice conversation on the new e-mobility and how people move around in developing towns. And that's an exciting section with persuasive electric vehicles moving on their own. And then we have one more after that, correct?
Yeah, farmland preservation on Wednesday night.
Which we anticipate will be a large one, and this is for you, created for you, and hopefully our master plan will be created by you. And I'm gonna leave you with that point. I just wanted to say hello. I'll be watching remotely or hearing on my cell. That's what's great about technology, that you're able to do that even when you're driving, you can still get it in. And my office is across the hall, we're always available. This plan, we're gonna live with this plan for at least 20 years, I
Correct.
believe.
Yep.
So it's about the approximate time that they last. And these plans are, they're our roadmap. They're our roadmap for the future. So the more community input that we get, and the more engagement and the more training maybe, or ideas that we get, and people that we consult, the more solid this will become. And again, it's our roadmap, and let's hope we have a good roadmap. And thank you, Jeff, for everything that you're doing, and I'll be listening to you.
Perfect. And
Okay.
and thank you for coming this evening.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening. We have with us this evening Bob White, who is president with AKRF. He's our lead planning consultant for the comprehensive plan update. We have a PowerPoint presentation for you this evening. If you haven't already, sign in for the people that are here live in the audience, and there's a handout. For those who are watching via Zoom, the PowerPoint will be available on our website, and this meeting is also available, accessible via Zoom. There's a Zoom link, and also being recorded via Channel 22, and that will be also posted on the Comprehensive Plan Update website. So if you haven't come to the prior meetings, those recordings will be posted. If you're not able to come this evening, tonight, tomorrow night, or Wednesday night's meeting, those will also be posted on the meeting for your review. So you will have opportunity to see what we're talking about. And this will not be our last set of meetings. After this, we're going to be having a series of meetings with the different advisory committees. Farmland preservation is by far the number one ranked item of importance through the community survey. I'm going to preempt Bob a little bit. So Wednesday night, I'm sure, is going to be a lively discussion for all of us. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Bob White, who's going to take us through the presentation, and then what we'll do is open up the meeting to the public in the audience, and then up to the audience via Zoom. So Bob, thank you for coming.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see you all. And welcome to our meeting on housing and community facilities. Is this loud enough? Or should I talk
Yep, no,
louder?
you're good.
That's good? Okay.
Larry, we're good, right? Yep.
Can you
we're
hear
good.
in the back? Everybody good?
Yep,
Okay.
go ahead.
So I got my back to you, so I can't tell. Okay, so as Jeff said, we're going to do tonight just an update on the comprehensive plan and the status of the plan, a summary of the issues that came up and how we've organized them, the issues that came up during the initial outreach or the first round of outreach in summer, fall, late fall last year through December, and then I give you an overview. Sorry.
Yes,
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. Give you an overview of the goals that we culled out of those meetings and that outreach and that process. And then time for community input, critical to the plan, and then just give you a summary of what the next steps are. Okay. This is our project timeline. It is on the website, and as it says in red there, that's where we are. We are here. which is we've analyzed the survey results. We've summarized that public outreach and the input to create an issues and opportunities document that we submitted to the town, and that is available on the project website. We submitted that in January, and now we're moving into the next phase of sort of morphing those issues and opportunities into the goals, the project goals, in terms of a comprehensive plan update. Next slide. This is one of our favorite sort of Planner 101 graphics, but there's sort of two wheels here. I would say the first wheel is where we're developing the concept plan, where we met with the community, town, staff, county, environmental groups, as part of an initial outreach to get their ideas on what needs to be addressed in the plan. And as I said, from that, we've developed an issues and opportunities document. And now we're in this sort of second wheel where we're going to talk through what we think or what we feel are some of the goals and objectives for this plan, and get your feedback on that, which will be critical to pulling that into the plan update. Just a quick backdrop. This is an update, and there was a vision statement on housing in the 2003 comprehensive plan that the town prepared just under 20 years ago. Housing, there was a housing element, and it was, I'll just read sort of the bold text there, which is the town should promote the preservation, development, workforce housing for seniors, young adults, first-time home buyers, seasonal workers, low-income individuals and households, and special needs populations. And in many ways, those goals continue to be our goals today, although we're taking them to another step and analyzing the status with respect to attainment of the goals as they were stated some 20 years ago. Next slide, please. Sorry? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So this is a listing. So the prior slide was an overarching sort of goal statement, and this is a listing of what the 7 goals were as they were stated in the comprehensive plan in 2003. I'll just give you a quick overview of what they said. Continue to provide a variety of housing opportunities for low and moderate income households. Support efforts for low and moderate income households in Riverhead to rehabilitate housing units as a way to provide higher quality, affordable housing. Guess I jumped ahead to number 3, which is promote high quality, well-maintained housing. Provided additional housing opportunities for senior citizens, and I'd say, this is a nationwide trend that began probably in the 80s or 90s as the population of the country began to get a little older and people live longer and want to live in a quality environment with folks their age in senior housing. Ensure that group homes are compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods, and I think that's more of a site design and operational matter. Provide housing opportunities for people living with HIV or AIDS when determined necessary. These are special needs that have changed perhaps a bit in the current year, but are still with us today. And provide additional housing, food, and healthcare services for homeless persons. Homelessness was an issue has been an issue probably as far back as any of us can remember, but it certainly was in the 80s and 2003 and is as well in 2022. Next slide, please. As part of our community outreach, we developed a summary of the issues and opportunities that were derived from that outreach effort. And some of the issues that came up were for us to identify population and housing trends that have been ongoing in the town. What are the housing needs in terms of the residents, households and schools. So there's clearly a relationship between the number of housing units, households, and school demand, depending on the type of housing that you have. Transit-oriented development, we talked a bit about, we'll probably talk more about that tomorrow. We talked about it in the last set of meetings. And I guess we talk about it most, or repeatedly, because it's a critical issue in terms of when we make choices on locating housing and growth, is to ensure or do the best, to the best of our ability, ensure there are opportunities for transit in addition to single occupancy vehicle or vehicle travel. Community facility needs, we have housing and population growth go together, and of course, folks need services, and that could be open space, general social services, or special needs services. How does the zoning need to be amended to reflect this? Is the implementation phase, and the short-term rentals and how they fit into the housing picture of the future. As part of the survey, and the survey included meetings, like I said, meetings with the town. We also did a online survey where we got input, hundreds of survey results from folks, where we asked a variety of questions on housing and or arranged around housing and land use patterns in the town. We also had a system called Social Pinpoint, where you could go to a map and put your ideas geographically located as to what are some of the needs of the town. These were the needs that came up as they relate to housing. Assisted living and senior housing, as we said earlier, increased opportunity for ownership, in addition to rentals. Where could the opportunity be provided to get vested and have a property interest in your home and property? Expanded rental opportunities other than multifamily apartments, affordable /workforce housing to meet the needs of those who work in the town, and provide opportunities for them to live here. Veterans housing for those who have served, and how we can assist in their housing needs, and then general market rate housing. What kind of implementation techniques, which are pretty much market driven, but what kind of zoning opportunities are there, and how do we what kind of decisions do we have to make as it relates to market rate housing and the future growth in the town? So that was the housing. In terms of, we also did, and we're talking tonight about community service needs. And these were the top 5 issues that came up, or concerns that came up as part of the survey as it relates to community services. Safety and security and crime prevention and police protection came up most often from the community. And we've heard that also in terms of the growth and rebirth, if you will, of downtown Riverhead, to continue its growth. Safety and security are paramount to that. Also going along with safety and security is street safety and security, and that's traffic management and safety, and how do we make streets and sidewalks safer for pedestrians and vehicle travel. Needs for playgrounds, parks, and recreational programs. There's two parts to that. One is, how much open space. There's different types of open space. There's open space for conservation, and there's open space that has active athletic fields. And we've heard a need in terms of recreational needs for soccer or baseball or field type events that there's a growing demand for as towns and recreational needs change. And I think the pandemic brought out to us and showed us how much these spaces play a role in giving people the opportunity to get together in a park setting. Emergency and fire, recreational programs, I guess I spoke about that. Emergency and fire services, as communities grow and emergency and fire service needs increase, how does that get addressed in a town such as Riverhead? And underscoring the growth in a town or the changes or increased access to job training and vocational resources. And that was brought up in the context of we have a community persons in the community who need this training in order to fit into the current workforce. So this is our goal statement for the comprehensive plan update, or CPU, if you see the acronym floating around. Like I said, we're presenting this as a draft, and we'll elaborate in the subsequent slides on what this is about, and look for your input. But I'll just read off what these are. They're also in the handout if you'd like to, drill down on the verbiage. Identify opportunities for affordable home ownership, and I think part of what came out of our outreach is not just affordable houses or homes, properties, but home ownership, so that working individuals get the opportunity to own, maintain a piece of property, and that could take the form of condos or co-ops, townhouses, or single-family homes. Senior housing, that's a carryover from 2003. As folks like Jeff and I get older, and we start looking for housing that meets our needs as individuals or married couples in terms of space and services nearby. Providing additional playgrounds and parks, recreational spaces and programs. I touched upon that, but for all ages, and biking has really grown as I would say in the past 20, 30 years as a recreational opportunity. And I see you have a great bike map here on the bulletin board. So it's a way of integrating biking into safe biking into a town as part of a transportation plan. Increase access to job training and vocational resources, and I think that's about making sure the opportunity is available to as many folks in the town as is possible. There's areas of growth. One of those is offshore wind, for example, where the town isn't going to have perhaps any offshore wind facilities, or not within the boundaries of the town, but there are opportunities to support alternative energy uses and to train folks to participate in that as a growing sector in the economy. And I spoke upon this earlier, but I think this is an issue for every town, but we've included it here as well, is to address safety and security issues and concerns as it relates to crime prevention and police protection and safe streets, as you might call them. Next slide, please. So just to drill down a bit on the affordable housing opportunities, what are the mechanisms that make this feasible? The real estate transfer tax for first-time home buyers, how that money can be used to support first-time home buying, and underwrite, if you will, some of the costs, which as the market has grown and there's been a great resurgence in the housing industry, supply and demand, the prices go up, and how do you sort of make sure that the price matches, that there's the opportunity for a cross section of the community to own a home. Develop and adopt a community housing plan, so that would be part of one of our recommendations on how how to outline the means and methods by which housing needs are met. Part of that is using the funding from the Long Island Workforce Housing Act to underwrite the costs, and for also rehabilitation. I don't want to forget, it doesn't have to be new homes, but also the rehabilitation of homes for housing. Especially in a town like Riverhead, where I know you have, homes built over the course of centuries. So, what are the opportunities for rehabilitation? Part of this that we can talk a bit about is the apartment cap in downtown. We heard from some members of the community that one way to there is a cap on the numbers of residences that can be built within the DC1 district. Maybe making that more flexible, since it is a desirable place to live. It provides the opportunity for several, four-story type buildings, denser concentration of housing, and perhaps, save on land costs and make it more affordable. And integrated with that would be additional assisted living, where you're downtown, you're accessible to transit, you're accessible to restaurants, you're accessible to services. You can walk there, and depending on the locations. Just to expand a little bit on the supporting opportunities for senior and assisted living housing. We see one focus of this could be in coordination with the Peconic Bay Medical Center, to look at how the land around the center could be evaluated to match up housing needs with medical needs, or nearby medical needs as needed, and there's a symbiotic relationship there, obviously, and exploring additional opportunities for assisted living downtown. I think that I've talked about. Veterans housing downtown and elsewhere, and also nutrition programs for seniors in the downtown. We think that's also a way to provide services in conjunction with housing along the Riverhead Business District. This is just a map of the zoning. I think this is probably a little hard for most folks to see, but there's maybe on the handout, or when you get an opportunity later on, to drill down on what the housing, how the housing need along the corridor can be matched up with the Peconic Bay Medical Center zoning. And I think as a part of the next phase of our work, we'll be looking at the zoning around the medical center to see what opportunities there may be to build upon the center as a focus of possible diversifying the opportunities. Next slide, please. Just expanding upon the theme here, housing rental opportunities. Rentals are a good way for new families, recently married couples to save some money, and also live in a nice apartment. So we think that downtown again is a place where we can provide folks in the early stages of a family, or in their initial as a two-family or a two-person household, to enjoy Riverhead, walking in the Riverhead Central Business District, and meet some housing need that can be carried over to their children perhaps someday. Temporary housing opportunities for seasonal workers. There is a seasonal demand here as well for folks who come to Riverhead and work in agriculture or other businesses, and there's a demand for housing during that period. So we've identified that as a need, and we'll take that into the next, we'll hear from everyone and incorporate that into the next phase of our work. And we did hear about, and we've written into our goals here, increasing housing enforcement. So it's often the case in communities when there's overcrowding that it's got to be coupled with enforcement because safety issues arise, and also there's ancillary issues of demands on schools or other demands that grow out of overcrowded or overcapacity housing. So, as I said, you know, as a town changes and there is housing growth, you got to match that up with recreational needs in addition to other community services. But tonight we're talking about recreation and community facilities. So we think that one way to do that is to provide some, which is a growing sort of trend, is to provide some indoor recreational uses along Route 58. Some of these are commercial, climbing facilities or indoor facilities that could be integrated to a commercial space. They support commercial spaces, and they also support the community by providing a recreational opportunity. Some rock climbing, some shopping, and some dinner. So it all kind of works together without perhaps even getting into your car, or getting into your car just once or twice. Coordinate with the IDA to identify additional outdoor recreational opportunities at EPCAL. There's a huge property, formerly Calverton, EPCAL. How can we use that or advance the use of that property to support recreational needs of the town? Again, identify needs for seniors, particularly in the western portion of the town, and how senior rec opportunities can be integrated to this plan. There's a park and recreation fee. I think I talked about this a bit before. You know, as demand goes up and the needs go up, the cost goes up. But it was brought to our attention that there is a need to enforce the park and recreation fee for all dwelling units to make sure that there's an equitable contribution to the growth in facilities that's necessary that goes in tandem with the growth in housing. And secure funding, and that could be state, federal, county, to complete the Riverfront Bike Trail, which is beautiful aesthetically and recreationally. I talked about this early on, but this isn't so much a brick and mortar type recommendation as much as it is to increase access, providing additional access to job training and vocational resources as economies change and needs change. How can we make sure that a greater cross-section of the town has access to these jobs both currently and in the future? So it's partnering with alternative energy and other training institutes to see what kind of jobs can be aligned with what types of skills, and identify what types of skills may be needed to align those jobs with those in need of work. Same with local colleges, institutions, and school districts to improve the job training that goes along with fill the need locally. Coordinating with the Suffolk County IDA to attract and retain new employment and vocational opportunities at EPCAL. Again, working on that as a growth center for jobs for all, and coordinate with social services to identify employment needs of low-income and underserved town residents, and making sure that job services can be provided to those in need. Just to touch upon safety and security, because that was raised during our outreach. And I think that probably some of the bigger issues were related to making sure that streets are safe, that sidewalks are safe 24 hours a day. I mean, the more people you have living in a town center, the more there's going to be an 8, a 9, a 10 p.m., an evening life that we want to make sure in those hours that perhaps are more risky, if you will, in terms of safety and security, that safety is provided. So we've incorporated these, or we've proposed these bulleted points to work with the bid to increase street life and attract visitors to town, pop-up tenants, ways to minimize or reduce vacant spaces and vacant lots, to utilize them, because an enlivened space usually reduces crime because there's more eyes on the street. Support events, so in conjunction with that, support events downtown and along Route 58 is a way to stimulate and have street activity. Provide the outdoor recreational events along the waterfront. We see the waterfront and the Peconic River as another destination in terms of making sure that space is active and utilized. In conjunction with these, it was recommended, and we've incorporated here, to implement the police reform and reinvention collaboration plan as a way of bringing police community together to work on these service needs, and traffic management, because we want to make sure that streets are safe, and that traffic is directed and managed in a way that keeps the sidewalk safe, the crossings safe, the signalization is working, and reduces conflicts between vehicles and individuals. Just a couple of quick goals on housing conditions. Incorporate policies to address, and I touched upon this earlier, housing conditions, requirements for upgrades. So I think this is more about identifying current housing stock and what is necessary to make sure that it's up to code. And one of the bulleted recommendations we have here too is increase the code enforcement as needed to ensure that the housing is safe and the occupants are safe, and the community is protected from substandard housing conditions. On a zoning level, some of these, I would say the majority of these recommendations aren't necessarily zoning related, but are related in other ways. It would be implemented through other techniques. But what we have included in this slide are some of the zoning updates that may be necessary to achieve some of these recommendations. Some code changes or flexibility in the zoning, maybe to allow perhaps in some cases or in some locations, multi-purpose zoning, where you could have community facilities, retail type uses, and new housing opportunities. There's a lot of small lots, I guess pre-existing or pre-current zoning, pre-existing conditions in terms of the lot size, that we want to work with the town to recognize those lot sizes and provide flexibility for the housing that is there. Short-term rental ordinance that would provide the opportunity for not transient, but temporary employees to have the opportunity to live in town for a shorter period of time. Revise the code to clarify how housing density is calculated, So we need to drill down on how that density is calculated in each of the districts and see if there's any need to amend that. And as we talked a little bit about with the medical center, how assisted living and living that is sort of symbiotic with a medical center can be sited in proximity to services, and in addition to hospital or medical services, the infrastructure that needs to go along with that. That's our overview of recommendations on, as it relates to housing and community facilities and services.
Yep.
Jeff,
Larry, if you could just turn up the lights now, please. Oh. Wow.
give us a minute to have our eyes readjust.
Hi, when did you come in?
Me, I just sneak in everywhere.
Welcome. All right, thank you, Bob. To highlight some of the things that are ongoing right now in terms of housing in the town, as a legislative act, the town board can put it on for a referendum this fall. Another tax, we have the Community Preservation Fund tax for open space preservation, and it can increase that by, I think it's 0.5% for affordable housing initiatives. The town has to vote in favor of getting that on as a referendum to the residents of the town. In order to enact that, we need a housing plan, and I know that through the Community Development Agency and Don Thomas, we are pursuing that effort. And it's important to think that what we can do if we got that increased revenue, one is that we could offer first-time home buyers assistance financial aid. Another possibility is housing rehabilitation. We take a look at 2nd and 3rd Street. We got a lot of really beautiful homes that could use some help. And providing some affordable housing in those areas, that might be a good way to spend that money. Also, the downtown, we had the TOD plan. You heard Bob mention that with our master developer. One of the things we're facing is the 500-unit cap. Right now, through today, we have approximately 541 projects either approved and built or are being reviewed by the town board, 541. Of those, 187 currently exist as dedicated affordable housing units. So that's 34% of our housing stock in the downtown area, and that's in our DC1 area alone that's dedicated towards affordable housing. So that's quite a large number. So I think we've done a pretty good job of addressing our affordable housing needs. Does it mean we're done? No, it means that we need to continue our diligence and looking forward and addressing the housing that we need in the town. One thing that we see that's lacking is home ownership for the first-time home buyers. For our young couples that are starting out with new families, they really need some lower cost entry-level housing in the form of townhouses, maybe condominiums, smaller houses, that sort of thing, to keep our young families here on Long Island. So what I'd like to do now is turn the meeting over to questions from the audience, and then if somebody reminds me, or in case I forget, is to invite questions from our Zoom audience. So anybody from the audience?
So Jeff, I'm going to come up by you, and then this mic will be available.
Yep,
to-
and then if you have questions from or comments from the audience, please come to the microphone, identify yourself and your hamlet, and take it away. So anybody from the audience, please come forward. Yeah.
On the affordable housing rate that's going up for vote, do you have to pass through all 5 towns or one town?
It's only per town.
Yeah,
Oh, Larry's saying, the question was, and Tim will correct me, the question came from Tim Gannon, one of our press reporters from Riverhead News Review. He asked if the referendum that would be on for the ballot this fall, does it have to be approved by all 5 towns or individually? And it'd be by individual towns, so we could approve it and another town may decide not to do it. So the first place, the town board has to decide whether or not if it wants to put it on for referendum. So if anybody from the audience, please come forward. Don't be shy. Connie, Barbara, Sid, Laverne, Takwi. You're all hiding. Sid Bale from all the way up in Wading River. Sid, welcome.
Far off place.
We're all one community, Sid.
Sometimes we feel further away than we should be. Okay. Three,
Sid, if you could just bring the microphone down.
yes,
Thank you.
three questions. The 541 units that you just mentioned, Jeff.
Yep.
Do any of them have equity ownership? None, nada. Right. I agree with you. That's something that the town should be, working on, because I think a lot of us of a certain age have owned 1, 2, 3 houses, et cetera. And it wasn't all because of our good looks. It was because we were kind of like, my first house in 1969, I paid $18,500 for. Now, can't buy a car, for that. There was some mention about assisted living facilities in the western portion of the town. Have you been approached by any projects yet on the western portion of the town?
No, the only one that I've had any sort of conversation with, and it was just, even just a passing comment, was near Middle Road and Roanoke. Near this, because one thing it really, I think it should be near, is where infrastructure is, public water and public
Right.
sewer. And more importantly than that, near the hospital and services that the elderly are going to be needing and requiring. So I'm looking along Middle Road near GenDOT and some of the other senior areas in that neck of the woods that could have connection to the sewer district. I think that's a viable area to start looking at.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned also the small lot ordinances, and I know we have a lot of small lots that are non-conforming because of the last master plan in Wading River. And they talk about flexibility. And exactly what do you have in mind in terms of flexibility, a small lot ordinance?
That we would allow development and expansion of houses proportionate to the size of the lot. What's commonly referred to as a 4/10, 3/10 rule.
Right.
Is based upon 4/10 of the average lot width.
Right.
And you take 4/10 of that, and that will become your side yard total dimensions with minimum setback, so that you could allow for expansion of a house or addition of a deck without having to go to the zoning board for a
Okay.
variance.
All right, yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Please, come forward. And I've never met you, so please identify yourself and your hamlet, and welcome.
My name is Janet Bidwell, and I'm from Aquabog. I don't know if this is part of your purview or what, but regarding the Peconic tax, the other towns waive the Peconic tax, thank you, for, I could get down, for first-time home buyers, and Riverhead doesn't. So I think that would be an excellent way to, I realize sometimes it's not a huge amount, but it is an additional amount of money that first-time home buyers have to come up with.
I have to tell you, I've heard that story so many times where a young couple has a hard time saving up for that, and now they really want, it used to be 10% down payment, now they're looking for 20%. That's a big number to come up with on the east end.
Well, especially when you're in competition with other buyers, I'm a real estate agent, and it's very difficult.
No.
It's very difficult. You have to come up with 5 or 6% of the purchase price to purchase a house.
Yep, just for not including the attorney's fees.
Right,
And the other costs.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, home inspections and all the rest of it, all of that factors into your down payment, so.
But I think that would be an excellent thing to do for the town of Riverhead. Thanks.
Thank you. Barbara, I see you out there, come on up.
Thank you, Jefferson. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I have a couple of questions. The 541 projects downtown, how many of those have COs?
I If you mind, don't mind, I take a calculator up?
Yeah, no, that's,
Yeah, I'd say 200,
okay,
maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah, half of that, I think that's a good estimate.
okay. Because I hear the planning board occasionally ask for the update because the cap is relative to
Yep.
500 COs, and I know we
Right.
have more than that on the table
Already,
in
yeah.
various stages, and at some point, at the end of the day, there's going to be a,
The day of reckoning is here, so we need to do something sooner than later.
okay. You had a housing memo that was dated August 8th, or August of 2021, the first housing memo that came
Right, and
out.
then it
that
got
was
updated in
revised.
December.
Okay, got updated in December, 2 days after our meeting. We were
I
at the
believe so,
meeting
yeah.
on
Mhm.
Yes, that's correct.
December 6th, I think it was updated. Okay, so I was very surprised to see the significant revisions and wondered how we, in those 2 days, we got where we did, because I attended that meeting and nothing that I heard during that meeting would cause, or at least would explain, for example, the concluding sentence, okay, of the first memo was relative to 300 to 500 new designated affordables over the planning period. The town may wish to consider that. And the second memo said the town may wish to add up to 900 new income-restricted affordables for workforce populations. So at the lower end of that scale, that's 3 times what you had recommended, and I just wondered where that number came from during that meeting. I didn't hear anything that was remotely related to that kind of an increase.
Okay, yeah. Some of that was based on additional research that we had done, and some of it was sort of clarifying what the town had built and what was in the market in terms of downtown and the affordable housing that had been built. And we had updated it based on that information.
It would have been helpful if it was updated that we would have reviewed that during the meeting 2 days prior,
and-
rather than, because actually what happened was I went on the website to refamiliarize myself with that first memo, and I realized it was replaced with something new.
Right.
And I hadn't seen that before, and then it just caused me to ask those questions, like
Okay.
how we got where we did without,
Apologize for that.
oh, no, you don't have to
if-
apologize, it's important to understand where we come up with some of these things in the interest of,
Yep,
again,
absolutely.
transparency. Another question that I had was, there's the requirement for the 20% affordables. The Long Island Workforce Housing talks about 10%, but in bold letters, you have 20%. That's more of a policy, I think, than anything, and I wondered where that 20% is coming from, since you acknowledged all throughout the document that we meet the 10%, and I'm wondering what's driving the 20% number?
The 20% is more driven by our experience in other communities or regions, I would say. If you look at Long Island as sort of one capture market and Riverhead is part of that, it's based on our experience in other areas of the Northeast.
And
Well,
Suffolk
how
County
about on the
Planning
east?
Commission, they want the 20%.
And Suffolk.
And who else is providing 20%, say, on the east end?
That I'd
In terms
have
of
to
the other,
check.
in terms of the other towns, or, oh,
I cannot, I couldn't give you an answer to that tonight.
And so I know the county would like it, and we use a lot of county data, and we do a lot of things for all the county Gold Star, Atta-girl, Atta-boy points.
Right.
But I'm just wondering, how and why we go there if no one else is stepping up to that extent.
I think that's a concern that I've heard time and time again from Riverhead, that we need to take a look at, making sure that every town around us also provides their fair share. I think the pure number that of 35% that we're providing in our downtown is an indication that we recognize there's a need for affordable housing, and we're doing our part. We want to make sure that the other communities also do their share, so that we're not inundated with, the regional proportion.
And I appreciate that, except it's difficult to accept that and analyze that when this comes out in a bolded recommendation that we provide 20%. It sort of is important to put that in the context.
I think some clarification is also needed in terms of the 20%, because it's not necessarily that we provide, or the developer provides 20% affordable housing on the site. Pursuant to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act, they can either provide it on-site, they construct it off-site, or they can pay into a fee into affordable housing trust fund. And it's the town that gets to decide which of those options. It's not the developer, it's the town. So we can take that money, put it into a pot, so to speak, and then use it for first-time home buyers assistant or housing rehabilitation. So there's an opportunity there that I think that would benefit the residents more directly than just providing, a more affordable housing physically in an area. It can provide, really be a nice pot of funds that can be used townwide.
I understand what you're saying, but it's the number of units that.
That's the scary part.
That needs to be analyzed, and I do recognize that you're talking also about the potential legislation that we would adopt locally on the transfer tax. And I understand you do need to have a community housing plan. It does need to be passed by resolution, or referendum, excuse me.
Right.
And it does need to be part of an updated comprehensive plan.
Yep.
It also, however, requires that the exemption on the North Fork be increased, the exemption, the
right.
minimum, from $150,000 to $200,000.
Right.
I think it would be important, as long as you're embracing this concept, that somebody does an analysis based upon what our activity has been, even reducing raising the exemption another $50,000 is going to actually cause us to collect less money.
Right.
So we
Correct.
you have to sort of do the analysis. This may be a great idea conceptually in other towns where that $50,000 may not make a significant difference.
Right.
Here, we would need to know, is this beneficial to us in the long run? I'm not so sure that unless we see the numbers, whether it will really work for us or not.
Okay.
In that regard. I also had a question on the, let me see if I could find it now. On one of the charts, when you talk about the mobile home numbers, and let's see, it was table 2 in the original, actually in the second one as well, the December 8th memo. And you talk about 1,883 mobile homes in the town of Riverhead, but you only counted those for rent rather than those for sale towards future goals for affordable housing. And I'm just wondering why that is. And I found it kind of curious because places like Glenwood Landing and Foxwood would not be in those numbers.
Okay.
And they're both wonderful communities, of course. In fact, you even use that as your picture. That's a picture from
Right.
Glenwood Landing. And yet, they're not counted towards that number. And it's a significant number, and I wondered why you didn't use the total number of mobile and modular homes in the town as being part of the affordable housing inventory.
Yeah, I think the information is more available in terms of the rent, but I think in terms of what we can do for next steps, we can check on the sale that you mentioned and update that data for the next step in the plan to make any, corrections or edits to the
And
information source.
I just remembered also, we had a couple of affordable housing complexes. I think the first home ownership, the first one was Millbrook Gables, right? Way back when, that came out of the CD.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Millbrook
Oh, yeah,
Gables.
yeah, right.
Yeah, and they are affordable units, or houses, ownership, and I'm wondering, where they are in this analysis as affordable equity options. I think Two Bears was also another one that we had that I don't see referenced in any of the,
Okay, thank you for
existing
bringing that to our
surveys.
attention. We'll check I'll check on that. Part of the outcome of our analysis was the town is
The other thing that we need to check, and we've had this conversation with Don Thomas, and Connie, you're gonna be part of it, is the equity part of it. And I've seen this in other communities where, the affordable housing limit is only good for 10 years. And after that, they're turned loose and become market rate, so all the equity, that's great for the person buying it, but the inventory gets lost. So how do we get the homeowner to get the equity, and then they sell it, we want the unit to go back to being affordable again. So.
To put your
question-
thinking cap on.
That's what we need to take a look at.
And this may not be the spot-on place to bring this to your attention, but we have been asking about that list of projects, and I haven't yet seen it posted. I know you're probably working on it.
Yeah.
But it's-
Sid and
it
I
is
have
important.
talked about it, and we
Okay.
had some glitches with our IT department.
Okay.
We're working with our software company to come up with a new spreadsheet. If that doesn't work out, then we'll figure out Plan C.
Okay.
So yes, we have, if you don't like government, try working for it. We are definitely cognizant of it. We almost had it up going live, and then we got stymied, but we're going to try Plan C.
Yeah, okay, because it really wouldn't necessarily have to be on
It
a
does-
elaborate IT.
No, it doesn't.
It could be a blackboard with a,
It should be something
Eraser.
very simple and easy
Yes.
to do, but.
that would be very helpful. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Yep.
your time and attention.
And actually,
Thank you.
Matt Charters, this is our new planner, he actually had it prepared.
Is that right, Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, welcome. Nice to meet you.
We've got some patient people on Zoom, Jeff.
Okay,
If we can, we have Bob Kern, I think, is going to respond, ask a question for a constituent that was frozen.
yep, okay. Let's turn over to the, to our virtual world in Zoom. How many, about 13 or 14?
Yeah, hi. I don't even know if I'm on. Am I next?
Bob, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, hey Bob, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Long time I haven't seen you.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little bit concerned about, there's a lot of general statements made without a lot of data backing it up. So I would like to see the backup data to these general statements. That's one. Two is, I would also like, I think, is it Bob that's with you? I forget his name.
Bob White.
Yeah, Bob White. Bob, if you could look at the surrounding towns and see what they have in affordable housing and workforce housing, please,
Sure.
and give us a number. And that number, actually, you can get from the county. Another a question that I have is, you talk about the riverfront bike path. What is the distance of that path?
That's a good question. I don't know if, I can't answer that today, but,
Bob, one of the things that
Yes,
we're
couple.
looking at is working with the county for along the Peconic River to go from the downtown heading west.
a couple miles?
Yep.
Couple miles?
Yeah,
I
so
think
when you say going west, Jeff, just so I understand, you're talking about going by Grangeable and then behind the old Citibank? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Okay, so how are you gonna capture that land?
A lot of it is county-owned, some of it is privately owned, so it's going to take a little study and working with some of the private property owners in the county to come up with a trail plan, and then working with the owners to see if we can secure a cross-access easement with them.
Okay, just, I wanna make a correction on one of these slides. You talk about the Suffolk County IDA. I think it's important to note that Riverhead has its own IDA.
Okay.
And those, talk about the western portion of the town for affordable. We have a community called Calverton Community. Are you aware of that community?
Yes.
Okay, and how many housing units are there?
325.
Thank you.
Yep.
And hey, Bob, I'm just curious, are you looking at, and what's the population growth from everything that you're putting forward, that your expectation of the growth of the population?
Well, I think we're gonna have to look at it two ways. One is if you looked at past trends, and what that growth has been over the past 20 years, and what that projection looks like to the future based on those historic trends. And then we're also going to have to track down or get data from the county and the Regional Plan Association on projected growth in Suffolk County and the region, and see how those match up to come up with an estimated population growth in the town. Or as Steve is showing me here, 1.5% per year is an estimate based on the current trends.
And Bob,
Okay.
this is Jeff. The other part to consider with population projection, and this was done with the 2003 master plan, is what assumptions are you putting in to come up with that number? With the 2003, they had a TDR component to the population projection, and then they had a population projection that did not account for the TDR program.
Okay, in addition, what I'm interested in also is, what can our infrastructure handle? Can it handle that 1.5% growth? I know what the sewer treatment plant can handle. So, I mean, you know, I'm trying to get a feel for what our infrastructure can handle. I mean, it's nice to say we should have all these communities over here and communities over there.
Yeah, that'll be part of our environmental impact statement that would look at those projections and what may be needed in terms of services, what may be needed in terms of infrastructure, and what mitigation may be necessary, be it traffic or transportation, to address that projected growth.
All right, so and on another note, let's talk about the school boundaries. You're aware that they go over into Southampton, correct? Up to
Yeah.
Riverside and Flanders?
Yes.
Okay, have you looked at what their build-out is going to be?
For Riverside, you're talking about, right, Bob?
Yeah, yes.
We would have to, as part of the school district projections. We have not, but we would have to, yes.
Okay, they do have a plan, one plan. The plan that I looked at is calling for roughly 2,200 units in Riverside. So I would appreciate if you could find out exactly what that's going to be, what impact that's going to have on the school, number one. Number two, in your experience, have you ever seen school boundaries change in New York State?
They can be changed. I think it takes an act of the state legislature, but they can be modified. I can't think of any off the top of my head that have been, that I've had experience with, but I imagine some have been.
Yeah, Bob, this is Jeff. That require, when I say a large effort, one thing, because I understand and what attorneys are telling me, it will require approval of the other school districts involved to accept those children. So if we, for example, said the children in Riverside would go to, say, Hampton Bays or West Hampton, those school districts would have to approve or accept that student population. So I think that's going to be a very, very difficult thing to do. Not to say that we shouldn't try to. It's just to recognize what some of the issues are going to be as we go forward with that effort.
Well, I think what might help there, Jeff, is if we look at what Southampton is going to do in terms of putting in a sewage treatment plant and how many people they expect that that's going to service.
Right.
That would give us some indication, number one. Number two is, I'm going to be extremely hypothetical here and say, what if they build 10,000 units over there over the next 5 years? Can our school system absorb that?
Right. That is the question that we are going to be analyzing.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a huge increase. If you have a household size of 3, which is, maybe that's an average, that at 2,200 units, right, that's 6,600 people.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of students.
So that would double the population right now of our school system.
Right.
Let's see if I have.
And Bob said, just for the benefit of the press, that was just a hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
Absolutely. But we know that, I do know they're planning 2,200 units, roughly, 22 or 25.
I've heard that number thrown about, and we will definitely confirm that.
Are they
Yeah,
doing in the area?
they've filed, there's a secret document on that. I'll look for that and give it to you, Jeff.
Okay.
You said a seeker, like an environmental?
Yeah, there's a document, yeah, and I'll look for that and get it to you guys.
Okay, yeah, because if they have projected that kind of growth, I would imagine they'd have to be addressing mitigation
Right.
measures as it relates to seating and school needs.
So Bob, in your experience, and you've done downtowns before, and on similar towns to ours where we have urban and agriculture, you said something, you mentioned about the 4-story building height downtown. And I'm just asking for not so much your opinion, but the reality of that. And what's your opinion of that?
I would say that fits into the context of the current built character, and the character of centers, like Riverhead Center in the region, in the Northeast, as a place where there's a county center, that height and size is consistent, with other places and locations.
Okay, and do you feel that that's, what do you see 10 years from now with the growth that you're predicting? What's that going to do? Where's it going to force other growth? I guess my question.
Right. I mean, optimally, it would be in places where there's good access to transit and facilities such as those that would be along Main Street or within walking distance of Main Street, recognizing that as time goes on, there's going to be a reduction in available land and redevelopable properties.
So 4 stories then, you feel will accommodate that growth?
Well, I think we need to take a pretty good, closer, more calculated look at it, but I was thinking of it more visually and in the context of the existing sort of built structure of buildings, 4 or 5 stories, that provide the density without being out of scale and character.
Okay, and I'm not, I liked when you used the word to calculate. I think that's important. And the scale and character, I think, is kind of, I think calculations will dictate what the scale and character would be, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's architectural ways to provide just a simple way, more open space or plaza, for example, on a piece of property, that the trade-off may be some additional height, but you get a plaza space. So I think some of it, and I think this is consistent with other places, is to provide architectural flexibility, that can let an architect design a better building or a better site plan.
Right. Okay, thank you. I don't want to take up everybody's time. I'll listen to the other questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob. I know we've got more people that are in the virtual land that would like to speak. Raise your hand, and you will be admitted in.
We have Lorianne DeFalco.
And who's the other one?
Glynis will be the next one after.
Okay, why don't you let Glennis go first? Lorianne is one of our consultants.
Gotcha.
Lorianne, hold on a second. We're going to go with Glennis first.
Glynis, you ready to
Yeah,
go?
Glennis Berry, how are you? Can you hear
I'm
us?
fine, how are you?
Good, we can hear you.
A couple of things. One, I'm glad that you're looking at the home ownership and the rehabilitation of existing infrastructure, and also the hospital area makes total sense. I am very disappointed that none of our comments about environmental issues were incorporated into the housing. And this has an impact not just on the environmental state of the town, which should be critical, both in carbon and energy use, but it also makes the town affordable for the people living in the buildings. It drastically reduces operating costs. So if you allow developers and people to build without requiring environmental standards, you are going to have a very high operational cost that you're inviting people with, moderate or low income to take on that responsibility. And I think it behooves you to make sure that the highest environmental standards are respected. I have to say, we just built a small house that was as close to passive as possible, and it's all electric, and it doesn't have solar panels or anything like that, but the operating expenses are only $130 per month. So that is affordable for people. It's less than their cable, instead of paying thousands or, $800 for fossil fuels. So I think that really needs to be recognized as part of this whole housing issue.
No, thank you. I think that's a great comment, and we will incorporate that in our next draft. I think we kind of put these different presentations into different. We had the presentation a few weeks ago on energy, but certainly there's an overlap, and yeah, we'd be happy to. That's a great recommendation. Thank you.
Glennis, Glennis, before you go on, after you speak, Mark Hobner is here. He's also addressed that as well.
Okay. And then I have a short personal thing. I wasn't going to say, but then with the conversation, I think I should put it out there. I own property that's on a river that's probably part of the area that you're aiming the bike route. And I totally support a bike route and think it's a great thing. But I have to say that the town, when I first bought that property, it had downtown zoning. It was really dense with almost zero setbacks. Then they changed it. Now it's, Peconic Community River. You keep on eroding the value of our property at the expense of the increased value of the people across the street. So I also think you need to look at how you equalize that benefit. Because right now, I think the benefit of your suggestions are going to certain sectors rather than being even-handed. And I did have a third note, but I'm getting senile, so it's like it's going out the window.
We'll be here when you remember.
All right.
Yeah, Glennis, if you remember, just come back to us.
Yeah, we'll check back in with you.
All right.
All right. Bob, Mark. Lorianne's, we're going to let you go first, and then Lorianne, you're going to follow. We haven't forgotten you, Lorianne. Hopefully you're feeling better.
Hi, Mark Hobner, Aquabuck. If we can go back to the slide about, I forget what, take a look here. Yeah, close, right? I forget what.
Yeah,
it has to do with refurbishing buildings for the, what do we call it, workforce housing? Notice the language over the years. It used to be low-income housing, and then it was, affordable, and then now it's workforce. You can paint it whatever you want, but
Housing that's affordable for a certain segment of the population.
a greater segment of the population. Thank you.
Better.
Thank you.
But I think but as workforce, it is aimed at folks who are employed and working versus other types of housing. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm not well versed on this, but I wanted to talk to that one portion that we've got New York State law coming at us, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, the CLCPA, has a lot to say about how we're going to be building in even 10 years. The stretch code is coming at us in 2 or 3, and if we adopt it early, yeah, sure. No, it's, keep, up, oh, wait, oh. I don't have my glasses on, so somebody's gonna have to tell me about that. Let me see. Sorry. The aged and the infirm up front here. Had to do with refurbishing houses that are existing, wherever that turned out to be. I can talk about it without stalling here. What's that?
We're going to keep looking, Mark.
No, I was gonna go from the climate smart community side of this thing. Oh, it was? Okay.
Goes in number, the goal housing rental opportunities.
What slide number? Take down the lower right-hand corner.
Housing rental opportunity.
Ike, look at the lower right-hand corner, we'll tell you the slide number.
Oh, yeah, there it is, thank you.
Rental opportunities, historic homes, mixed use, workforce.
Still not renovating historic homes.
But also this. Also this.
Well, this is a working session. Thank you. Yeah, the substandard housing requirements for upgrade subsidies, access,
What slide number is that, Mark?
it looks like 18. Yeah. But the point is that we've got state law coming at us, net zero by 2050. It's not all that far away, and if we are at the point now where we've got to start, every decade, we've got to start knocking down our energy consumption by, we're at the point of 15% a year, if that's the number, right? Yeah. And the first 15% is easy. We might have done that already with the climate, with the NYSERDA program, with our with George Bartnick from our environmental committee, plus Ken Testa and Jason Blizzard from engineering. And they got us our first 80 points. Amazing, amazing heavy lift. But what happens after a while is it gets harder and harder to do things. And there's a diminishing return in how much you can decrease or increase your efficiency. So that the first 15% or even 50%, you know, the first 50% is like, yes, and then it gets to be 25, and then it's 12, and then it's 6, and it's 3, and then you're never going to get there. Right. So what we're looking at with the net zero by 2050 is pretty far off, and it's not even in the scope of this plan, and it should be. The next thing down is the CLCPA is the Rev 2030. It's the reforming the energy vision for 2030. It's 100 months away. We need to drop our emissions by 40% and increase our clean energy by 70%, so that it's total of 70%, sorry, not increased by, but have a total of 70% by 2030. It's 100 months. So one of the things they've been going after is commercial buildings, of course, with buildings being the largest sector of energy use, and heating and cooling, of course, are the biggest parts of that. Heating and cooling are going to be the things that NYSERDA is driving at. And when they get through with commercial, and municipal, of course, needs to be the spotlight, needs to be the showcase. And that's why we're doing the climate smart communities for the town. So we're, you know, with the LEDs and the street lights and everything else. And that's a real good thing. Go ahead. Do you have a question, Jeff?
I do. We tend to be very reactive to housing construction types in the construction. Wood frame, 2x4, sheet rock, insulation.
Yep.
A lot of emphasis is focused on insulation. Then along comes these concrete houses, and then the energy consumption for those is tremendously less than our traditional stick-built houses.
That is true. But how much CO2 is being given off by the concrete?
So
One for one.
I'm just saying, there's alternatives beyond just stick-built that we've done
That's correct.
for 100+ years.
That's correct.
So
And we haven't talked about ones that we can unbolt at the end of 100 years and use the parts again somewhere else. Right? We haven't designed that far back in our.
we live in a disposable society
Yes,
where
we
you're
do.
done with the house, you bulldoze it, you go put it in a landfill and start from scratch.
Which is going to be a problem, of course, in 100 weeks when they close the landfills, and we've got to truck all of our C&D off the island to Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. But I digress. The idea about the Rev 2030 and the these programs coming at us, they're going to start insisting that we take a community, we've taken our municipality benchmarks. We know where our energy is, our fossil carbons, our gasoline and everything else for the cars. We know what our energy use is for the municipality. They're going to require that we know our community's consumption. So that when houses are the biggest culprit in heating and cooling because of insulation and design from the beginning, we're going to need a community inventory about our emissions and our consumption, energy consumption. All of those numbers, every one of those numbers I've spoken to, are rolling up in a greenhouse gas roll-up to the state. So they're looking at every single community in the state of New York for their consumption, whether it's municipal or ICI or institutional, commercial, industrial, or residential. The community effort is going to be requiring, when we get grant money, the other shoe is going to drop here, that we spend that we allocate 35, I think it's either 35 or 40, 35% of the grant money from the climate smart communities and the NYSERDA money, that's DEC and NYSERDA, on disadvantaged communities, of which we have 3 that I have found.
Yeah, Joyce Novak sent us a map last week.
Okay.
From the DEC.
Okay, now I have the one from the US Census and the Suffolk County maps that.
So hopefully they all.
Yeah, they all overlap, right? Okay, and one of them is mislabeled from the county section. I went through it for hours yesterday. One of them is our downtown, completely.
right.
One's up in Calverton, I don't know where. Takwi said she knows. She does.
She does.
And,
Oh, Breezy Hill, yeah. That area, right.
and the
Yeah.
third one is 99% over 65, and I can't remember where it is. I can't find it, but I'm sure somebody else does know. But the idea of spending that 35%, let's say it's on insulation and I don't know, attic blankets or whatever have you, to get these homes, and I'm going to follow through with what Glynis said. The idea that when somebody has a disposable income of $800 a week, disposable income for a family of 4 of $800, when their electricity bill and their heating and everything else is $200 or $300 of that, by taking the stress off of people, just the fact that just the ease of knowing that their energy bills are going to be so much less, that they don't have to worry about it, then they start to become parts of our community, productive people. What is it?
That's a very key point. I'm agreeing with you.
It's taken stress out of their lives. I think there's a lot of violence in this country that's based on the stress of just making the week. And if we can take that stress off by retrofitting homes, I mean, it's going to be part of the infrastructure bill. It's going to be part of the state of New York. It's part of certainly these programs, Climate Smart and NYSERDA. And start really doing the inventory and working on this and spending the 35% that we're required to in these areas. So I want to help do that. Bob, I've got this cool wrinkled document at this point that I'd like to share as well.
Sure, that'd be great.
We can
You
talk
bring up
about
a
it
great
after.
point of
Okay.
how much, of your monthly payment, it goes to your utility bill and your property tax and those things, and they're all part of affordability. It's not just what your mortgage is.
And stress and productivity.
And, yeah.
People having a little extra time at the end of the month to volunteer to do something with their community or their kids. Right? Okay,
It's
thank you.
related. Thank you very much.
That's all I
For tonight.
got. No, for the minute.
To be continued tomorrow night. All right, anybody else in the virtual?
Yes, Lawrence Oxman.
Larry Oxman.
Hey, good evening.
Hey Larry, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Just a couple of quick comments. I didn't hear any real substance about accessory apartments. So that's something that has certainly been talked about. Having accessory apartments in owner-occupied residential homes where they can supply off-site parking. the TOD area. Looking at the map, it's kind of a jagged line. It would seem to me that, in fact, it goes around some properties. And I'm not sure what the reason was for that, but I would probably encourage that TOD area be expanded just slightly. So for instance, why doesn't it extend all the way down to Main Street, as an example? Let's see what else. You know that I'm in favor of lifting the 500 unit cap in the DC1. And what Glennis had said about West Main Street, that property should be like the most expensive property in the town along the river. It is in other communities, and ours is not. So there's something surely lacking. A long time ago, they had an incentive program to try and allow developers to get a certain density to transfer them from the riverside over to the north side of Main Street. That didn't work. Maybe there is something that can work to incentivize the more open space and just make that a beautiful trail. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Larry. Anybody else in virtual land?
Glennis remembered her last.
Glennis, did you remember what you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, how can I speak?
Now,
Oh, okay.
you're on.
No, it's very simple. I think it helps to share the specifics and the mapping with your topics, because some things are generalized, and when you get into the specifics, you know, it's the details that count and how they all relate to each other.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Lorianne, are you still there?
Hi, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I lost my voice, so sorry if that's a little raspy. I just wanted to speak to the affordable housing memo a little bit that we updated in December, just to clarify or respond to some questions I heard. Just wanted to mention that we updated it for Census 2020. So the previous version was based on the ACS 2019. And there were substantial differences. There was a substantial population growth in 2020 compared to the ACS 2019. So that's one reason why the number of affordable units that we were proposing increased. And you know, the memo, I think, suggests a range of 10 to 20% of housing should be affordable. So not necessarily 20%, but a range between 10 to 20%. And we recognize that the town has a lot of mobile homes, but we're trying to come up with reasonable goals for quality, affordable housing, particularly for first-time home buyers. So we don't want to skew the data, you know, to show that there's no need, because we think that there is some need. So hopefully that clarifies some things.
Yeah, I think that clarified how some of the numbers changed. I think we need to just do some double checking on the mobile homes to address the question that was brought up earlier.
Yeah, we need to just lock down the number on the mobile homes, Lorianne.
Right, well, we have the numbers in the memo. But if we include all of the mobile homes for sale, it would show that the town is well over 20% of its goal.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, you know, when people think of a quality first-time, you know, home to buy, I don't think everyone's thinking about a mobile home.
No, I don't think we're saying that those are the first time, but might be the other needs in the affordable housing realm.
Aren't the majority of them over 55?
I would say that's
I
probably.
think that's
yeah.
what Bob is alluding to, is it's not affecting the first-time home buyers, it's affecting those of us that are aging in place, that looking for a place of our own, over the age of 55 without children.
That's my,
But an average mobile home sale is probably almost $300,000 at some of these, like, the Glenwoods and stuff like that. That's.
And I hate to say it, that's what's affordable.
I don't know what to.
But that's not included, is all I'm saying. They're not in.
Exactly.
Barbara, address that to Lori Ann, so she hears you.
I was just mentioning that the modular homes, such as what you find very tasteful communities,
Right.
such as Glenwood and Foxwood Village, are not included in the mobile home category, but they are considered in the, in terms of
Right.
housing stock, that's where they are.
Yeah.
That's how they're
Yeah,
classified.
mobile and modular have two different,
But,
you want them, they should be addressed,
but
included
they
in.
should be included as affordable housing units, I'm sorry?
It's not real property. Right. If you're renting the land.
But their houses are for sale. That's what they're saying, the units for
Okay,
sale.
could we just, we're having a group conversation
I'm
that we
sorry.
need to just focus one.
Discussion, this is good.
well, it sounds like we had a couple of thoughts there, one of which is $300,000, is that actually affordable, or is that actually, just moderately priced, but not necessarily affordable in terms of the current income in the town? Affordable housing, and it could very well be, and we gotta check the numbers, whether,
You're buying a structure and you're still renting the land.
and you're still renting the land, so if you look at the total cost, it may be adding up to something.
You're not gaining equity.
No, yeah, but if you're making, and I'm throwing out, $75,000 a year, or $80,000 a year as a household, and you're looking for something that's affordable, it might not, it sounds to me like the economics of that particular property wouldn't work.
And I was not looking to stymie the discussion, it's you're not being picked up on the microphone, so that was my only.
Use the podium, please.
Yes, please. Larry is,
That's the whole point. You don't want my-
Larry's pointing the arrow.
Larry's pointing the arrow.
No, I was just going to circle back to those 900 units of affordable
Modular
dwelling
homes.
units. Dwelling units. No. What you suggested as being your conclusion that you would recommend to the town. Again, when you do that kind of analysis, and incorporate all of the other goals and all of the other topics, when we talk about where this could be in the context of the land for agricultural protection, when we talk about how many more school children might be generated, they're all sorts, how much more garbage. It's just looking at it from a very holistic perspective is really important. And I know we're trying to focus on each one of these, but they're also intimately connected. And, we talked about maps. We had asked once before to have the maps of environmental justice area and those things, because they do affect each of these components of the comprehensive plan. And it's, at some point, as it's helpful to have individual focus, it's almost impossible to keep it segregated in terms of comments, because it's important to bring, especially the energy stuff, when we were talking about, building the larger buildings that are more likely going to be downtown. By the time, we get to the point of a GEIS and a codification, those buildings are going to be well underway, or at least their site plans will have been approved, and we're going to miss an opportunity. So if there's a way for policies to be looked at now in the context of what we know is going to be happening, we can adopt a plan, we can adopt a GEIS, but as well as the implementation comes in the zoning, and that could be well after the adoption of a plan. And again, most of those downtown buildings will have been well under their way to review and approval, perhaps without incorporating any of these suggestions in terms of energy conservation and the like. So,
Good point.
okay, thank you very much.
I forgot something. In the category with Glynis at this point, I forgot something. We talked about the whole thing about the retrofits, and we talk about education and new technologies and training and mentorship and apprenticeship and BOCES Suffolk Community College has a sustainability group. Our high school, this is the opportunity. Get it involved, I mean, just full circle. Include it all at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, is there anybody else in virtual land?
I see no hands.
Okay. Ike, yeah, you've been quiet, but you've been speaking from the audience.
I was glad, Ike Israel, Aquabog. I was glad that there's 13 people on Zoom. Otherwise, I thought the turnout was horrible, considering we're in a housing crisis and the rent is too damn high and there's 35,000 people in our town and we had 25 people participate. I want to mention that in the PB zone along Roanoke Avenue, it doesn't allow residential. I think you're
taking care of
seeing that that change needs to be
I
taken
was
into
sitting
account.
here this morning when we talked about it.
Oh, was I there?
And we're going, what Ike is talking about in the professional business zoning district, which extends along Roanoke Avenue from the downtown on the Route 58, single-family housing is not listed as permitted use. And so we're going to reintroduce it as a permitted use.
Okay. Does that include apartments on upper floors?
That's something we want to talk about.
I know we definitely have to raise the cap and in the DC1, but I'm also surprised that it doesn't sound like anybody brings up in the other hamlets besides for downtown taking the brunt of the residential growth, that some of the other studies in the past talked about having some medium density in downtown Aquabog, in downtown Jamesport, in Wading River corridor, and I don't know if there's been any comments towards that.
There has, and we talked about it last year. I talked about it in terms of one of the policies of the 2003 comp plan was to allow two-story mixed-use developments in downtown Jamesport. There's a policy that said we should allow retail offices on the first floor and apartments on the second floor. Made the same recommendation in Wading River. I haven't heard a lot of public support for that, but from just from a traditional hamlet design, that's always the goal, is to have first floor commercial, second floor residential. So like a live-work type of environment, but haven't heard a lot of public support for it, but it's in the 2003 plan. It's, as a planner, I like the concept of it. I think one of the bigger drawbacks to that is going to be the sanitary code in terms of wastewater.
Well, I think that plays its own role in itself, but we could, if it does happen in those areas, it'll be more expensive to bring to market. I thought Sid Bale's comment about, his first house for $18,000, we're about to, I saw something about the parking in lieu of payment in DC1 is going to be $12,000, and then we have a $3,000 park and playground fee, so it costs $15,000 just for, I'll say nothing, but for services that before a developer puts a nail or does anything just to build something. So if you want to know why there's no home ownership opportunities, the market can't support what it costs to build, plus all the other fees on a buy.
Well, Ike, we're not going to charge the $12,000 parking fee in single-family homes.
But if we do a condo complex in DC1, you would.
Or you provide the parking instead.
Okay,
There's going to be a public hearing on that next week,
wonderful.
2 p.m.
Okay.
Same place as we are right now,
All right,
at that same podium.
thank you.
Matt, anybody else? Bob, you want to come back? Bob, you got to unmute yourself.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Welcome
Okay,
back.
great. So, Bob, I'm just wondering, as you know, there's a pending sale right now for EbCal, and if that happens, it's going to create, they're talking about it's somewhere in excess of 1,000 jobs. Where do you see these people living? And have you identified property in that area where homes can be built, not in EPCAL itself, but in the surrounding area. So that, I mean, I can't imagine 1,000 people living downtown and driving to EPCAL.
No, I can't either.
They're gonna take the train. They have a train, it's a light rail.
I mean, it's historically been a regional, job center. I would imagine that would continue with 1,000 jobs, but some portion of that, and we could look at that as the next step, some portion of that would be local, and optimally, the majority of that would be near the source of work.
Bob, that's something we can definitely look at and get back to you on.
Recognizing
Thank
that
you.
there's also a lot of farmland preservation as well in that vicinity.
Well, that's another concern of mine is, you know, that there's a lot of pressure on farms right now, just with costs. And I've been speaking to farmers, their costs are up 400%. Tremendous amount of pressure on farmers right now. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Connie Los Angeles, coming to the microphone. You got to bring the microphone down.
I know I'm short. I don't know where to begin, to be honest with you. I've kept quiet, and there's still, we do have affordable workforce, whatever you want to call it, in Riverhead. I will tell you, a neighboring town is really interested in developing affordable workforce housing. They've actually outreached me to help them educate them what the different levels are, which I'm more than happy to do. But the National Low-Income Housing just came out with a report, April of this year. It's called The Gap, a shortage of affordable homes. And it's across the country. And it's not going to get better. And I think you have to look at the town of Riverhead, the population, okay? Nassau, Suffolk, area median income is $129,900. That's a lot of money. And your average person in the town of Riverhead, we're talking about the area median income here is about $75,000. That's your average.
That's in Riverhead?
That's in Riverhead. That's a family of four, okay? A family of four living on $75,000 a year is peanuts at the cost of living. And affordable workforce housing, I'm going to use, again, 221 East Main Street, a one-bedroom is $1,900. I'm going to ask you, how many of your kids can afford $1,900 a month rent? I bet you zero. Or seniors that want to opt out of their home ownership and go into renting. It's hard.
Right.
So, you know, I think, and I've said this for years, I said it under 3 administrations, and I can't emphasize it enough. This is the only town that I know that does not have a housing advisory committee. There is so much that can be flushed out. I have so much information that I could share with you guys. The Housing Trust Corp, I think it's the Housing Trust, they have an analysis with every funding that's out there, every development. I mean, there's so much out there. I mean, I even have a report from Suffolk County. It's a little old. I was just with Sarah Lansdale today, and I'm going to get an update on it. And it tells you every project, and it gives the funding that went into it, how long it's going to stay affordable, etc. There's so much information out there, and you know, you can spin your wheels any which way you want, okay, until you sit down and you look at the town and go project by project. Who is it serving? What are the rents? You know, what are the needs? That's where you're going to get your housing plan. I prepared one for Nassau County, and let me tell you, it took months and months and months and months to get a real handle on what was already out there. Okay? There's a lot out there, but there's also a lot more needed. And as far as home ownership, I am 100% for home ownership. However, first-time home ownership is not just saying, okay, we're going to give them a house that's affordable, maybe $300,000. How are you going to get to that $300,000? I'm talking to developers right now. There's 2 developers that are interested in doing it, putting together like a little complex of maybe 20 units. First of all, you partner with a not-for-profit, because in order to do first-time home ownership, you must partner with a HUD housing counseling agency, because there's restrictions. They have to go through counseling. They have to go through a whole gamut of things. So you can't just say, oh, we're going to give first-time home buyer $10,000. It doesn't work that way. You know, you can, there's layers of it to do it. Can it happen? Probably would have done it better a couple of years ago, because right now the cost of housing and to build is astronomical, number one. Number two, if you could get a house for $400,000, you're going to be doing good. But they still have to come down with a down payment of their own money, even though there's subsidies in there for first-time home buyers. That's all well and good. But the interest rates are going up. We're already at 5%. You know, I mean, and then there's all these other land trust numbers and this and the closing and what have you. So all of a sudden, that $400,000 house becomes $500,000. So is that really affordable? I don't think so. And also, a lot of the younger kids don't want home ownership, believe it or not. They want to have the flexibility of saying, you know what, my lease is up, I'm skipping, I'm going someplace else. They don't want to have they don't want to be stuck. And let's face it, Long Island is really pricing themselves out of not only our young families, but seniors and people just, you know, it's getting to the point where nobody can really enjoy themselves. So I think that's what you really have to do, is you got to take a look at the whole picture, not just, okay, we have 20%. And, you know, and I've said this at other meetings, I think misinterpreting the 20%, and if you look at the Workforce Housing Act, there's a very specific calculation for in lieu of affordable housing, and you best stick to it, because I'm going to tell you something, you've got a controller that'll go after you on it. And because he wrote the Workforce Housing Act, so he's very sensitive to it. So not only that, you've got, it's 10% for each development. Okay, so you could, I mean, I have analysis here from it. I mean, like, for instance, I think it's the town of Babylon. With just 2 developments, they have 60% affordable. But meanwhile, it's, you know, it's a lot of units. I mean, I could give you the breakdown. I've got it here. But it's 10% a unit. And we've got probably, off the top of my head, about 600 market rates coming down the pike. Give or take a few, right, Jeff?
In Babylon or here?
No, in here, in Riverhead. Okay, we've got about 600 or so coming down the pike. So 6% of that is 10%. So if you've got 600 units coming down, it's roughly 10%. So that's 60 units.
Or the money in lieu.
Or in lieu. But let me tell you, it's not cheap, that money in lieu. It really isn't. You look at the calculations, it's not, you know, I mean, it would be money going into the Housing Trust Fund, yes. But there's restrictions on what you can do with that, too.
Correct.
So that's what I'm saying. And it's not just, you know, black and white. There's a lot of gray in there. And again, I emphasize, when is the town going to wake up and put together a housing advisory committee? Because they could flush all this out. Because obviously, you know, we're in a crisis, but look at this room. I go with Ike. It's pathetic. You know, thank God we had 13 on the Zoom. But for a town that is so concerned about affordable housing, where the heck are they all? So, you know, maybe not. It's 6 o'clock. You know, I mean, go on Zoom if you can't get down here. You know, so it's almost becoming sad, this dialogue. It really is. So you heard me, and I haven't changed what I've thought, and I'm here to help. if I can help. Otherwise,
You're going to leave a copy of that gap, right?
I will give it to you, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Connie. I knew you weren't going to sit there all night.
I was trying to, believe me.
The concept you came up with, could you say what it is again about having a housing,
Advisory Committee.
housing advisory?
We have a housing authority already.
No, you don't. No. Oh, no.
Not the one in Joe Petroselli's building?
No, a housing authority?
Yeah, there's a housing authority
Where's the housing authority?
in Joe Petroselli's building. Yep, ministers of Section 8 program.
No, but it's not a housing authority. It's a development corporation. There's a difference. A public housing authority is under the auspices of HUD. And Riverhead does not have one. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out why Riverhead has let that go the way it have. Because first of all, that's for another discussion, believe me. But it's not a public housing authority. There's a big difference.
Okay, we'll have that conversation.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
It's a public housing authority is, in other words, there's.
No, it's fine. Just keep talking directly to the
The
mic.
public housing authority is developed like the town of Hempstead has a public housing authority. I'll use, for example, Nassau County. I ran the largest Section 8 program there in Nassau County. But it was under New York State Public Housing Authority. So the statewide program has Section 8s in, in other words, what it was, Nassau County was an administrator, not a public housing authority. And basically, that's what Riverhead is. They're an administrator of the Section 8 program, but they're not a public housing authority, because public housing has public housing. So if you had a development downtown someplace or whatever, it's run by the authority. So it's completely different. You've got some project-based projects in Riverhead, such as we're on Town Path there, Florrie's Place, Doctor's Path.
Oh, right.
That's project-based.
Oh, right.
So you've got stuff like that, but Riverhead has not had a public housing authority at all.
Thank you for the clarification. Don Thomas and I were having that conversation earlier today. Nope.
So, on page 9 of your current memo, the last memo, I just think it's important. Thank you. I think it's important to read this. I was surprised to read this particular sentence, and this is under the table 9, I believe.
Okay.
Prevalent and growing industries in the town of Riverhead include retail trade, $41,000 a year, educational services, and I'm not sure what that actually is, $37,000 a year. These are incomes. These are prevalent and growing in the town of Riverhead. Accommodations and food services, $27,900. And healthcare and social assistance, $60,000. Those are our prevalent and growing industries in the town.
And those are the incomes, salaries.
Those are the salaries.
Okay.
And
So-
Connie's nodding her head, yeah, that's true.
And that's something I was actually really surprised to see, that the majority of, and the growing industries here in the town, we talk about high-paying jobs and all of that. This is really the reality of what we have.
Yeah.
And I just,
Hospital worker is.
60,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60,000. So anyway, I just thought I would. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Just
you
wanted
for pointing that out.
Anybody else in virtual land, Matt?
I see no hands.
All right. Anybody else in virtual land? Raise your hand. We're getting towards the conclusion of this evening's presentation. Not seeing any. Matt, Anybody else in the audience?
Doc Returchin, Calverton Civic. I'm laughing because I'm learning so much tonight that I don't have much to say. I've agreed with the last three speakers, and I'm very interested to see Riverhead have a housing advisory committee. Is that what you're saying, or an authority?
We have a housing advisory woman in the name of Connie Losandro
Right.
that's advising us.
So I would like to see that, just echoing that, I think that's a very important part of Riverhead, and then with the punctuation of the types of incomes that Barbara Blast just brought from your memo, it punctuates the need. And I think that when we're making planning terms for a year, 5 years, 10 years, if we're not taking that into consideration, then we aren't being realistic. So I just want to echo that. I don't think I have a whole lot more to say, other than I don't know if I've heard it tonight, but I'd like to see an inventory of the types of housing in Riverhead, and I think it might actually exist. Do you have that already on the website somewhere, and I could go look that up?
We have inventory data from the census that, yeah, I think it should be in the December report.
Yeah, what I'm looking for is specific to Riverhead, our housing inventory, not so much what, the census, yes, obviously went through and gave information, but as Connie was saying, it would be very useful for us to have a project-by-project breakdown and put it in a grid and follow the incomes, and follow, and for that fact, also follow the energy usages that Mark was bringing up on being able to make us more energy efficient right now. Like, don't wait the year, don't wait for, like, the next time we look at this. That's something that could happen, say, in June, so that we're looking at things in much more detail. I'm going to stop there because that's all I know. Thanks.
No, that's a great suggestion. I think, you're looking for empirical information.
Yeah, that's a reoccurring theme. Okay.
And the age of those homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made me say it.
Oh.
When we build if you had 100 people here, they'd only speak once.
There'd be a 5-minute speaking limit. No, not going down there.
So, so you build a skyscraper and it's good for 75 years. You build a commercial building or a school and it's good for 50, right? Houses maybe 100, right? You keep, pouring money into them, they'll last a long time. But we're not thinking ahead like that. I mean, if we have an inventory of the homes of certain age, we would know when they're going to age out. Life cycle analysis, this is called.
And I think you and I have had this conversation. A lot of the houses have already reached past their age.
Yeah.
You take a look at the traditional ranch houses, well past their age.
Yeah.
And
With the tar paper around the Romex and the lead pipes and you've got to gut them to bring them even to code for 100 amps.
But I can tell you, and I know I speak too much sometimes, but I live in a 2-bedroom house and the garage is attached and we have a bedroom above it. And I checked it because the bedroom is always cold and it's drywalled, it's got the insulation in the garage, it's got the insulation above it in the ceiling. I was like, why is this second-story room always colder than any part of the house? Because everybody's going through the garage door all the time, and it's open to the elements half the time.
Right.
So
Right.
something as simple as that.
Design.
What I did was I just connected the garage door opener.
Take the battery out. So life cycle analysis on all these buildings. I know the Rocky Mountain Institute, Amory Lovins just got through with, or finished a few years ago, the retrofit of the Empire State Building. And they're saving millions a year. I mean, it can be done, triple.
And technology is advancing, and today we're looking at going, wow, look at LEDs, look what they've done. That's old news already, and what's coming next?
In the debacle of the spiral bulbs, I mean, that, between incandescent to spiral to
Right.
LED.
Right.
We should have leapfrogged over that. Leapfrogging is another technique, but like I said, this stretch code is coming at us. I read it from the NYSERDA people. They're going to institute stretch code in about 3 years. We're going to get it. But if we do it before the end of June, we get 10,000 points just for putting it into the books.
But you've been working with the Drew Dillingham and Jason in the engineering department, correct?
Yeah, Jason and Ken Testa, yeah.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
Ken, okay.
Yeah, and they're working on that, and I'm thinking, we should bring this up, and quicker is better. I understand it's gonna cost more for the developer, the designer, the architect to put this thing together. When you buy an electric car, it's like $50,000, but the maintenance and the battery use over time is less than a Toyota. Or, a Toyota with an internal combustion engine. But you pay this much for the car, and then you pay for the maintenance of the gas. If we do the same thing with the buildings, we're gonna find the return.
It's sort of, I remember reading a magazine, and they compared a Toyota Prius versus, I think it was 1979 Gremlin, in terms of cost effectiveness, and obviously the Gremlin costs a lot less, and there's a tipping point to where one takes over the other, because obviously the cost of a Prius is much more than the Gremlin.
Right.
But the cost over time is supposed to balance out and eventually tip over towards the cost efficiency of the electric hybrid vehicle.
That's correct.
So,
Well, 200 parts or 2,000 parts, complexity alone.
and also the stigma of driving a Gremlin.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else in the audience? Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up this evening. Even though we had a low turnout, I think we had a good discussion with those that are here. This is not gonna be the end of it, especially on housing. Tomorrow night is transportation, and then on Wednesday night is gonna be farmland preservation, which ranked as the #1 issue in the town. That's gonna be a very lively discussion, I'm sure. So thank you all this evening. Keep an eye out on the Town of Riverhead Comprehensive Plan Update website. We update that frequently. Look under what's new, you'll see the revision date, so you'll know if it's been updated since you last saw it. That's the best way of knowing what's coming up, new information is posted. Or if you have any questions, just give me a call, main number, extension 239. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you all for coming.